We're here tonight in Loughinisland to commemorate the memory of those 6 men who were killed here 20 years ago tonight. As I sat in this bar, the Heights bar, I watched Ireland beat Italy in the World Cup. This very quiet, remote, peaceful village in County Down, smashed apart. Never since has this village been right. There's been an unearthly silence that has befallen this community. And I think you've just seen here tonight the large numbers, hundreds of people turning out in Loughinisland to stand with the families, to say that we're with you all the way as you commemorate their memory, but also in their campaign for truth and justice. Right from the start, with the families on the one hand, we're being told that no stone would be left unturned in the search for justice. But as they were being told that in public, the black hand of collusion was working behind the scenes against the family, against recovering all the facts. We had the car destroyed, the getaway car that was destroyed. We had the history of the weapons shredded in Armagh. We had the boiler jackets and everything else, the balaclavas, all destroyed. No DNA swabs taken off witnesses. It was just a complete another travesty, but they knew what they were doing. This was certainly a covert operation.
What do you make the PSNI's call for witnesses or further information to come forward at this point?
I think it's a crass attempt. It's a PR stunt, and it's an insult to the family's intelligence. To come on the 20th anniversary, when it is the PSNI themselves that are withholding the evidence and information from the police ombudsman, I think it's crass, and I think serious questions need to be asked of those who issued the PR this morning. Well, as you've seen here tonight, large numbers of the community have come out to stand with the families, and myself and my Sinn Féin colleagues in Southtown will go every step of the way with the families in their search for truth and justice. We've been to America with them, we've been to London and to Europe with them, and I think it's time now for the Free State Government in Dublin to waken up to what's going on here and to come to the family's side also. Sinn Féin are committed to the family's quest for truth and justice, and we'll be with them every step of the way until they get that.
Clara Riley, a very significant evening for the families. What do you think it means to them 20 years on?
Absolutely. We have supported the Loughinisland families for 20 years, and Mark Thompson has done an awful lot of work in uncovering a lot of evidence that pointed in the direction of those who were responsible. Unfortunately, the police didn't act on that information. But 20 years on, the families are still as determined to get to the truth and justice about what happened to their loved ones. And we'll be here behind them, and we'll be looking support from the like of the Americans who know all about this. In fact, Bill Flynn comes from this area and has met the families and has supported them financially and everything else. So whether it's 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, we'll be here, if God willing, we'll be here to support them. And I think it's cynical of the police asking after 20 years for witnesses to come forward. Who are they kidding? You know what I mean? Witnesses that came forward and they made the witnesses known to everybody else, but it's ridiculous. What they want to do is hand all their intelligence over to the police ombudsman, and then maybe we'll get the truth, and we'll keep on until we do get it.
There was a lot made recently, the fact that one of the weapons used in the attack had been in fact used in multiple attacks as opposed to the police's version of it just used once. Do you think that's significant?
It is significant, and we've said all along that weapon and a lot of other weapons were imported from South Africa by Brian Nelson and all, and the police knew that, and they allowed these weapons to come in, and they allowed these weapons to mass murder, and did nothing about it. But the truth will out, no matter how long, the truth will out, and these families will get truth and justice.
Yes, it's the 20th anniversary of the atrocity. We're standing at the Heights bar in Loughinisland. We've just had a decade of the rosy after a candlelight vigil after a memorial mass. It's a very difficult time for the families. They're a very resilient group of people, some of the most courageous people I've ever met in my life, and really they've been on a journey for justice for this past 10 years. They dealt with the events that happened here 20 years ago in a state of shell shock. Didn't know what to do. They trusted what they were told by the state. They trusted the police when the police promised them that there would be no stone unturned. And with the wealth of information and evidence which was found almost immediately, the getaway car, the balaclavas, the guns, the boiler suits, the gloves. So one would have thought that would have provided forensic opportunity in terms of fingerprints, DNA. But we found out in the report that 9 out of 16 suspects who were arrested didn't have fingerprints or DNA taken. So if me and you fall out now, the first thing that'll happen when you go to the police station is you have your fingerprints and DNA taken. That wasn't done in a mass murder. Now, when the families began to assimilate and compute those facts, the automatic comprehension was that it would lead to a finding of collusion, state liability, but it didn't. Al Hutchinson wanted to write this off as an episode of bad mistakes, bad policing, and whereas that was his conclusion, and that is true, it doesn't account for the conspiracy which occurred. The weapon that was used, DZ-58, was imported from South Africa. We know that from many reports, not least Judge De Silva's, or Sir Desmond De Silva's report into the murder of Pat Finnegan. So when one compiles all of those facts, informers protected, evidence destroyed, evidence not gathered, weapons given safe carriage into the jurisdiction by the MOD, that raised more questions. So whereas facts were presented by Al Hutchinson, more questions were asked, and the families have then since been on judicial review after High Court proceeding to quash the report by Al Hutchinson. They were refused legal aid on the merits, which was an incredible decision. That case had to be challenged for a year, and all the while delays built into the case. And whereas they did quash Al Hutchinson's report, and they now will benefit from a report by Dr. Maguire, we found last Friday in the High Court in Belfast, Dr. Maguire having to take himself High Court judicial review proceedings against the Chief Constable to cooperate with his investigation. And Dr. Maguire was quite emphatic: I will not conduct investigation by negotiation, and that's correct. There needs to be applauded for that. We still find 20 years on that the PSNI are refusing to engage with an Article 2 human rights compliant investigation into this atrocity. So the question that has been asked repeatedly tonight: what are they covering up and who are they trying to protect?
Patrick, it must be hard to believe it's 20 years ago.
It is. It's hard to believe it's 20 years ago. It brings back all the memories of that night. Terrible night, you know. My cousin rang my father at about 10:15. The news came out very quick, so it did. And I was talking to my uncle that night at approximately 8:30 that night. And, you know, my uncle and I were talking about work and farming and stuff too. And I just could not believe it. When I heard the news. And one of my Uncle Dan's words tell me that particular night before he was murdered, he had a great habit of saying to everybody, "Slong, Patrick, I'll see you again," you know. Never in my wildest dreams would I ever thought that was the last time I had ever been talking to him alive, you know.
Well, that's been made of the fact that the families continue to be very, very much together, very united.
Absolutely. You know, we will stick together and we will keep battling away at this case. We have a fantastic legal team, and you know, Loughinisland will take has taken an international dimension. You know, we will keep it in the public eye, and there's not many people will give you a guarantee in life, but I will guarantee you, standing here tonight, that you haven't heard the last of Loughinisland.
What will it mean to you personally and to the rest of the families, I guess, to get justice?
It would be absolutely tremendous, you know, not only for the families that have lost their loved ones like myself, but for the survivors too, and for other families that are in similar circumstances to ourselves. Hopefully we can give them strength and courage to go on too. I have never started a job yet that I have never finished off, and you know, I, and along with all the rest of the families and the survivors, we are determined, you know, we'll not leave the stones unturned. The police said that they wouldn't leave the stones unturned. The police didn't turn over any stones whatsoever. We're going to have to do it for them.